friends that are still on tour and talking to them, like it's like 10 times more brutal out there touring than it's ever been, you know? So like for a small little cult band that, you know, there's just it makes no sense for us to just all of a sudden start touring or something.
Yeah.
Or, you know, or doing it, you know, other than just some special things here and there. So, yeah, I mean, we might do another thing, or, you know, at some point, or do a show that's our own show where, because that show was kind of like, you know, it was for public radio. So it was us and the features were both local bands, and the features were always like much bigger than Glossary. So, you know, it was kind of they were the headlining band.
Oh, okay.
It was like kind of a dual headlining band, but, you know, so we had to open. So, you know, we play for like probably an hour or something.
Opening's nice.
I mean, I love Glossary was the consummate opener.
Pressure.
We always were the opener for everything. You know, rarely did we ever get to headline anything. But yeah, I mean, you get in, you get out, you can leave if you need to. You know, like there's a lot of times when we used to tour where it was crucial that we had that opening slot because, you know, I remember when Glossary would go out with like somebody like Lucero and they're in a bus, or anytime we were touring with opening for somebody in a bus, you know, they can drive all night and they can sleep. You know, nobody in the band's driving anymore at that point. But we were always in a van and a trailer. So it's like sometimes, you know, also like once you move to the bus, you have leeway of the shows being farther apart, like distance wise. And so, you know, if you're driving in a bus, it's nothing for like an 8-10 hour drive or something because you got a driver that's going to drive overnight and sleep during the day. Well, Glossary, so we were having to like tail buses, like we'd have to play and leave right after we get done playing so we could drive, you know, to maybe get to a hotel and sleep for a couple hours, you know. So
the logistics of it all,
it's just it's kind of brutal.
It's a young person's game.
It is absolutely
sleeping on wood floors and
oh god, yeah, I mean, it's all that is very much so. I mean, it's the same way in stand-up comedy. Like, you know, there's people out there that can, like, if you were just a dude and, you know, or, you know, anybody, female, anybody, if you're just a stand-up comedian, a single person, and you have no ties to a relationship or no kids, then you can go out and, you know, you can do it for like $50, $100.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
like, be out all the time.
Yeah.
My mental health would I would be dead in like 3 months if I went full.
Yeah.
I need to come back to the family and be like, all right.
I mean, that's
this is who I am.
Yeah, that's how it was for me too. Like I need like routine.
Yeah.
I need a very specific routine for me to like flourish. I flourish in that. And I think pretty much everybody does. And I could never find a good routine touring. You know, I could never, I always just had bad habits, you know, like it's just not getting it. I mean, the one that's going to kill you more so than anything as you get older and do it, especially if you're just doing it like, you know, DIY, like punk rock style, is like just not getting enough sleep is going to, you know,
totally.
We get back, you know, gosh, we get back to a hotel room at like 2 o'clock. 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we'd have to leave at like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's brutal. Yeah, I mean, stand-up's way better in the sense that like there's no load in and load out. So like they have all the stuff, you say your things, and then you can kind of sneak out. I'm gonna head back. So it's very lean. You can even sleep in the car. It's just one person.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
you don't have 5 people in the drums and the
it's much
amps and
much
all that.
more doable for sure.
Yeah,
but at the same time, that, you know, stand-up comedy doesn't have the like DIY network that music has.
Yeah.
You know, that's really why there are comedians that I remember back in the day, like David Cross had tapped into that, where he was like, oh, I'll just go open up for indie rock bands. Yeah. You know, because that you know, is already set up. It's that whole infrastructure set up.
He was doing the standing rooms at the same, like the 40 watt and places. And now I'm like, I'm not going to stand to see anybody. I'm 47. Like I get excited when it's at 7 p.m.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's seated. When you're home by now, I'm like, that is the perfect show. Like I will not stand to hear David Cross anymore. I love David Cross, but he better have chairs at his shows now.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's interesting. Like I mean, I think that's, you know, that. I mean, I've always thought that was one of the biggest things killing, music was that the shows start too late. It's one thing for a show to start at 9:00 on a Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
But like, if you're playing it Tuesday or something, let that show start at 7:00, like 6:30.
I do not miss that. And then the first of the three bands just pushes it because they're like, we're going to wait till it's perfect for us.
Somebody shows up like, drummer's not here yet. We gotta,
just wait. We'll actually start at like 10, and then the second band, maybe some people are still there. And then the headliner, you make it to that headliner slot. You just play the empty rooms a lot of the time because you're setting up at like midnight on a Tuesday.
Yeah. And there's just nobody. And the thing is like
headlining Athens for 3 people.
Yeah, and the problem is you have, you are essentially, playing for your peers. So it's like, how many shows are you going to on a Tuesday night to see a band that's playing at 11:00?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's part of it too. Is I can't support it. So
yeah.
The nice thing about stand-up right now is there are people that'll just come. Like, I feel like with a band, you do have to they have to come for you.
Yeah.
Whereas right now, stand-up is so hot that it's kind of like, there's people telling jokes down at the place. So I'll just go down and maybe you win some people. I think they kind of forget about you afterwards, though. So it's still the challenge of trying to get people like stay with you and see you when you come again.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely the comedy. I mean, it seems to me as an outsider who's kind of just always liked comedy writers and stuff like that, that like podcasting, is like the greatest thing to ever happen to stand up and the absolute worst thing to ever happen to stand up. Yeah. Because now it's like you're basically kind of expected, if you're going to be a stand-up comedian, you got to have a podcast.
Yeah. Everyone has one. Yeah. And there's so many now that it's kind of a worthless thing.
Yeah. So it's like, in the end, it's kind of like how I see kind of the modern bands, the way the rock and roll music model has changed over the years. Is like most of the bands, especially smaller bands, like they just make all their money off of shirts. You're basically merch, like a moving retail store essentially. And it's kind of in stand-up comedian, it's like, are you guys stand-up comedians now, or are you just podcasters?
Yeah, right. And we're giving it all away for free too.
So it's like, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I say this a lot on here, but I try to build it all so it's like, if there's 0 spends on it, 0 views, it was still worth it. It's a good excuse to talk to interesting people.
Absolutely.
Because it is so saturated. Like, these conversations kind of can go into my act. Like, talking to people will kind of expand your awareness and your perspective. So a lot of times the things we say on here end up being bits or stuff like that. So it's kind of a way to like hold a mic and get a long form rep in. And then if anybody does watch it, that's a bonus. But I don't expect, there's so much content. I don't expect anyone to ever see anything I do anymore. Every day it's just a million hours of new podcasts and jokes and songs hitting the internet. And a lot of it's great too.
Oh, absolutely.
I miss when like you were one of 3 bands in your high school that like put out a CD, and it was a big deal.
Yeah, that's we have as a culture, we have moved away from like, for better or for worse, we've moved away from like the monoculture. I think it happened somewhere around like 2005, 2007-ish, to where
when YouTube dropped.
Yeah, it's about right when that, and like when Twitter starts taking off, and like, I think it kind of changes somewhere around then, because, if you ask anybody, you're like, what do the 70s feel like? Like in your mind, you can, what it feels like. What's the 60s? What's the 50s? The 20s? You just go back to any time. You're like, you see it, you can feel it, but it's like, what does 2009 feel like? Yeah. It's like the lost year. We're living in these lost years.
Yeah, it's just everything mixed together.
Yeah, it's like, which is great now, because you've got this democratization of like everything. Everything's democratized now. Not just being a stand-up comedian, not just being any kind of artist, like everything, being any kind of entrepreneur or whatever. But because of that, you have everything is just so saturated, and it's really hard for anything to stand out. And, the way they used to get around that was they were like, well, you just throw money at something and you force it to stand out. But that doesn't even really work anymore.
No.
Like, something has to like take off. It's that unexplained thing that's always been there. Like, something just has to take off like organically. It has to, like, there's not much there's not enough money to throw at something to make it become a thing if the people don't want it to be a thing.
Yeah, so then it gets to be like weird hair and crazy clothes like popping out of the feed. You know?
Yeah.
Just like some white dude just standing there like saying words. I feel like it's...
Yeah. Well, it just becomes a bunch of people that are obsessed with analytics, and they're like trying to make they change what they are and who they are, to follow the algorithm, because they're like, okay, well, if I do these kind of videos, they work, so I'm going to stop doing the things that feel more natural to me, and kind of becoming, you just become a slave to the algorithm.
Totally.
So
God forbid one of the videos like does well. Yeah. Then that ruins my life more than anything else, because then you got to follow that. Yeah. And then you're checking it all the time.
Yeah, and then you're also just being like, okay, what was it about that one?
Yeah.
And there is no rhyme or reason.
Yeah,
it's just the way things land.
Yeah,
it's just the way things land. There's just some things are just going to land and some things just aren't going to land. That's why it's just like anybody who's doing an artistic thing, like, you just got to go back to the way you think about it is when you first started doing it, which is that, like, you just did it because you just had some innate thing inside of you that drew you to it, and you just constantly keep going back to it, and you don't really know why, but it feels good for you to go back to. And like, do you want to give that to somebody else? Like, you were given something that, like, you can take to the end of your life. You can have like like an internal purpose to where you can, you making this thing or you doing this thing that you love and that like really helps you get through the day, and it carries with you like through divorces, through deaths, through stuff. It's the one constant thing that you're going to take with you when you go. You're not going to take any of these physical things. You're not going to take any of this stuff. You're going to take everything that you've learned from, the thing that you hold the dearest, to you. Like, so I think about it in those terms now. Like, yeah, I don't care if anybody knows who I am. I don't care if anybody is paying attention to who I am, because I'm really just making art like for myself as the audience, and just trying to make things that I'm like, for some reason I keep wanting to go back and play music, and I'm like, and it's because I'm hearing something that I'm not hearing out there. I can't find it. Yeah. And so like I have to make it. Yeah. And so that right there is enough to me. Like, what you get out of the process of making art is way bigger than any kind of monetary thing, that's ever going to happen to you. Like, yeah,
I love that. I mean, I think trying to find your voice is a worthwhile lifelong endeavor. Yeah. I don't even know if you get 100% there, but just trying to get closer.
You just never do.
Like, I'm only 10 years into stand-up, so I'm still kind of a baby at that. And it's like trying to find those weird stories that only you can tell. That's kind of what I hear you saying about your songwriting, is you're trying to get to the thing that's authentically you.
Yeah, that's just
only you can say.
Yeah, and not only that, it's like you like you're trying to like separate everything inside of get yourself out of the way, so it's like a straight shot to your soul. You're trying to get that that inner light, whatever is powering this body. You're trying to get that thing to say something. Yeah, like, because this thing is going to be gone. Yeah. Like this.
It's about over. You get to middle age, you're like, it's about done.
Yeah. But that thing that's down deep inside of you, that is old and ancient and been around forever. The
eternal spark.
Yeah. It's been around forever. And so let that thing speak, I mean, in the end, like, dude, I mean, I don't know. I mean, America is a tough place to be any kind of creative person, obviously, because, we're just unfeathered capitalism and everything. The whole thing in America is like, make every hobby a job. It's like anything that
monetize it.
Yeah, anything you remotely like or care about, it's like, oh, well, you got to make money off of it then. It's like,
we put the numbers on everything. This is how many times it's been liked and seen and shared.
Like, your whole worth is based on like what you have, how many clicks you have, like all this absolutely crazy stuff that literally means nothing. It literally means like nothing. Like, in the end, like I don't care if you're the richest guy in the world, like he's going to be in the same dirt you are. Death is the great equalizer. Like, we're all going to the same place. And so, like, why obsess over things that really play such a small part in your life?
Yeah.
Like just hustling for giant corporations. Like,
yeah,
it's the one thing that drives me crazy whenever you see the whole idea of the hustle culture, and you see like commercials, like a credit card company or like Uber or something like that. And they're like, gotta wake up, gotta get out there, gotta hustle, gotta get in that grind. It's like, man, we're all just so like beat down with being like institutionalized on just being like a consumer, a buyer, a seller, a buyer, like that. They want that to be our identity. Because if it's not, then we can sit and look and be like, that's interesting. There's all these guys, these really rich guys who think they're smart, but are not smart. And like, they want AI to be a thing. And it's like, well, they've now put our whole economy is held up by AI, which means if AI doesn't work, then we're all screwed. But it also means if AI does work, we're all screwed.
Right. Yeah. Either way, I can't retire.
Yeah. So that's those guys' agenda. And it's like, and so they got to make us look away at like, we can't look out into that because they want you to like, don't pay attention to that. Don't pay attention to that. Like, because if you do, there's a lot more of us than there is of them.
Yeah.
And it was not good for them if we all decide, hey, I think we've had enough of this. Like, you can only push us so far, and you can only take so much, and like try to control everything.
It is crazy how fast it's changing, and just seems, I don't know if it's ever going to slow down. But the stuff you're talking about, kind of the timeless stuff. I mean, is that? When you're writing songs, the things you're saying kind of reminds me of like a lot of the language in your songs, the eternal kind of, when you're and there's a lot of like death, like when you're putting the dirt and stuff like that. Like, do you have like, since writing your last album, do you have some new tunes, or are you kind of, Yeah,
I have another record that I thought it was going to come out by now, but I ended up, it's, I kind of, I always like batch write. Like, so I kind of write for a project. And so I thought I had all these songs for my new record all laid out. I was kind of working on them. And then, I would hit a spot where I was like, couldn't take one further enough. And then I'd be just sitting around messing around. And I'd be like, oh, wait a minute. Then I'd just start another one. And then, I've done that a couple times. So it's veered me off a little bit, but I should have another record out by next year.
So what's that like when you do you like make time to write, or do you just like have a voice memo and you get a melody stuck in your head, or you're like journaling? Like, what is the seeds of the songs? Like, where are they? What's the first kind of thing you capture?
Well, the thing that I do really is, like I was saying earlier about how I've learned this a long time ago about myself, is that like I think this is just a natural human thing. I really respond to like routine. So my whole thing is that like, if I want to do something that benefits myself, then I have to implement it in that routine. And so I just, every morning, when I wake up, the first thing I do is I get coffee, and then I just start playing guitar. And I try to like get a verse or kind of mess with something, work on a song. I try to put an hour, 2 hours in the morning time.
Oh, nice.
To it just every day.
Like morning pages.
Yeah. It's just so I know that I just, it's the same with like, a couple years ago, I became really into yoga, and I just was like, oh yeah, if you just add something that benefits you into your routine, then you don't think about it anymore. You just do it all the time.
Yeah. And you might miss it sometimes, but by default, it's there.
Yeah.
You don't have to decide if you're going to do yoga every day.
Yeah. I mean, I had a break. One of the longest writing breaks I'd ever had was after The Wildness. I started working on Mr. Presto, the movie, and then I worked on that movie for like 2 years, and then I had my son, and then I didn't want to write because I felt like I owed it to him to not be in my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you start getting obsessive about trying to perfect things.
Yeah, and then I start living in my head.
We like it when people walk. My cattle sometimes, it's part of the vibe.
Yeah. I just don't want to live in my head, because to write songs, you really got to do a lot of self-reflection, like deconstruction of yourself, and really think about stuff. And when we had our son, I was like, I need to live like constantly more in the moment, and more just giving him the attention and getting to know him and stuff, and not be trying to do this thing all the time. So I took a break from it. And when I went back to write songs, I think it was in 2021. So essentially, I hadn't written anything in like 5 years or something like that. And then I started writing some songs like during the pandemic. All right. Yeah, it was like during the pandemic, but didn't come out till after the pandemic was kind of, I think it was like 21 or 21 or 22, where me and my buddy Lou made this record called Golden and Rust. We decided to get back and do something creative. So he wrote 5 songs and I wrote 5 songs, and we recorded this record. And when I went to start writing those 5 songs, like, it was the first time in my life where I had nothing built up. I had zero. Like, you go to my notes and there's nothing in it. There's no audio recordings. And if there was some, it was from like 5 or 6 years ago, you know?
And you're a different person now.
Yeah. So. And so I had to just start over. And that's the one thing that about putting creativity in a routine, even if it's just a little while, is that aspect, is that you just have things when you're like, want to work on something, and you go back to see what kind of ideas could be fleshed out of things that you've written down, recorded, or something, see what, or I'm like I got a core, I'm getting to a chorus or something, and I can't come up with a line, and I go back and look at something. I'm like, oh, I remember when I was writing that thing. Maybe what if I take that line, that chorus, and put it in this? Like that kind of stuff. So
yeah. So do you end up with like a ton of like? It's a lot to hold in your head when you've got like 20 half-finished songs, or more than that. Different voice members. You're trying to connect the bridges to choruses.
It's tough, dude. That's when organization becomes really crucial. Like that's one thing I always am trying to tell myself that I need to be better about, is like just simple labeling, and like, because I'll just record an audio thing, and then it's like, okay, what's like Tuesday 8:00 at my address? I got to listen to it, and then I have to go back and like sometimes I'll just spend like an hour going through the notes and then just trying to label stuff with some like, use this, like, good rocker, like come back to this, like, trying to give myself some kind of like roadmap so my future self can find it, again.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just like paste all of them into one long like 2-hour audio file, and then if I'm going to go for a run or a drive or something, it's like that. Then you can screenshot those timestamps of like where there's things to go back. But that's interesting that you're working on it every day, because like, there's this book called Daily Rituals that I've reread a million times, and the whole idea for the book is like, pros don't wait for inspiration. They show up every day and do the work. And it's very common for like everybody from Hemingway to whoever, people that put out a lot of work, to get up every morning and write. And there's something about the morning too, where like once you start making decisions through the day, you get kind of,
your brain in the modern world just gets fried.
Yeah, you're done. But right out of sleep, that's like the time that you're kind of most in touch with the whatever it is, the muse, the dream.
You're also like, your body's waking up, you got your most energy, like, my house, it's like the quietest your house is ever going to probably be if you've got kids, is like that real early time in the morning. So I mean, I just kind of made it part of the routine. So I mean, and it does still take me a lot longer now to finish a song than I did back, in like my 30s or something. Where
is that because you're busier, or because you have more of a you're harder on yourself?
No, I mean, I don't think I'm really. I've always been super hard on myself. Like I've always been way harder on myself than like anybody's ever been on me. So that has always been there. The problem that I have now is that if back in the day, if I would come, if I'd have this, be working on something, and I'd be like, ooh, yeah, I got something. I would take it to where I couldn't get anything else out of it and then stop. So that may be me sitting there for like 8 hours like just trying to get it. Cause I'm like, I'm in it now. So like, I need to
might not be here when I come back.
I need to milk it for everything I can, just get as much as I can. And then I'll come back to it. But now I can't sit there for like 7 hours and do it. You know what I mean? Like,
you got more responsibilities.
Yeah, I got way more responsibilities, and then like than doing that. And you know, I wish that I could do that. But so now I've had to like kind of relearn my mature my process into a different, to a different way. Because back then it's like I worked at a restaurant. You know, for most of the years of Glossary, I worked at a restaurant, and then, I was married, but I didn't have any kids. I didn't own anything. So it was like I could just work on stuff just all the time.
Yeah.
Just all the time. And I, I'd leave it in my head. I could just think about it all the time. I didn't have to think about a bunch of other stuff.
I think that's why most people stop. You think back, like in high school, how many people were creative? And then who's left middle age and beyond? It gets harder to kind of slot it into the places.
Yeah, which is a shame, because like I was saying, that like if you were a creative person, like it doesn't matter the medium or anything. It's like you have been given a gift that you need to baby, and you need to like treat it as a precious thing, because like it's going to get you out of some jams.
Yeah,
life is full of like left turns and all these things, and like in your darkest moments, most alone moments, that thing will always be there for you when nothing else is. And so like you need to nourish that thing, you need to like explore it, you need to like hold it tight. And that's why I'm saying that's the problem in the modern world of just making everything so
a commodity.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I don't know. This is all stuff that's really only existed in like the last 150 years. Like now, if you're a folk musician, you're like, oh God, I got to get a label. I got to go on tour. I got to get a fan base. I got to build it up. I got to make merch. I got to get stuff to sell. I got to do all this stuff. But that's just like a modern thing. Yeah. Like since human beings have been on this planet, folk music was just like, hey, I'm going to sing to my brother this, a song I heard about a flood a couple towns over.
Those were the days, man.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it.
People would be like, there's a guy that can sing a flood song.
Yeah.
We're all just going to be quiet for like 2 hours.
Yeah, there's just like a random guy who'd walk from town to town and tell funny stories.
Yeah.
It's like you're just doing it. Nobody was doing it for anything. Maybe you do it for like stay the night somewhere. Or like,
and when the story's done, it's gone. It's just gone forever.
Yeah, it's gone forever.
It was in the air and it's gone. And now everything's like captured
forever.
And time stamped and searchable. And so it's worthless.
Yeah, that's what I always think about, like in movies, because movies in the early days of the movies, like for instance, like a movie like Casablanca wasn't like a huge smash hit right when it came out. It took later to when they started playing it on TV to where it became so beloved. Because the thing about even a big movie back in the day is like it would go out, it'd do theaters. It may stay out like a year or something and go to different theaters. And then once its theater run is done, movie's gone forever. It's done.
Yeah.
Like there's no home video.
Yeah.
There's no internet. There's no nothing. Like there's so many lost movies because of this, where they just never left the theaters, and then it just died, Yeah. So like, art used to be like that. Art was like, it was very much of the moment, and, people didn't do it because they thought they were going to make, money or anything. You just do it because you're just like, there's something inside of you that's like dragging me to it, that's like wants me to do it for some reason. It's like you feel yourself when you're doing it,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I love that. I feel that sometimes. Even some people get it and some people don't. There's some people that are like, why would you drive to Nashville and do a show? And then, you should be spending that time with your family. It's like, well, that's important, but I want my kids to also see that I'm still following my dreams and trying to like hold on to that voice and be creative, because that, like you said, that is a thing that's there for you that you have to nurture. Like it's actually, it is a practical thing to take care of that, but it's not mainstream. And
well, the thing is,
I can feel judgment from some people on it, but other people really get it. They're like, that's awesome that you're still being creative when it makes no sense to be logically at this age.
Well, it absolutely does. It's just America is an age. It's an age like we're ageists over here. Society. We kind of like in America.
Worship
you're kind
the young.
Yeah, we worship the young. Like once you hit like 40 years old, you're out. You're done.
Oh,
you know, and just about everything. You know.
Yeah.
There's some things that or I mean, you're obviously not done. But the way the culture looks at you is kind of just like like It's weird. Other cultures around the world they don't do that. I mean, other cultures have like multi-generational families living in the same house. Like you are like revered for being old. Like because you have wisdom and you can teach everybody stuff like that. America though, it's not like for some reason here, like we don't want to listen to, I remember like the band and like I remember them in the When We Were Brothers. I think it's in the When We Were Brothers documentary talking about at the time. Like there's when in the late 60s there's this whole thing where like pretty much like you don't listen to people over 30.
Yeah.
And they came along and were like, oh, all of our favorite stuff is like from like 50 years ago. That's why they put on the back I think it was the Brown album, or I can't remember if it was the first album or the Brown album, where they put all their families in the photo of like all the generations of the families. It'd be like, nah, bro, we're listening to like the past,
Yeah, the folk revival stuff. I mean, when you listen to stuff now, do you listen to much new stuff, or do you tend to?
Yeah, I just listen to music all the time.
Yeah. What are you into these days?
I mean, I've always just been a fan of pretty much anything. I mean, I've always leaned towards songwriters just because that's just kind of what I've always been into. Like,
just great songs.
I just like good songs. Like, I tend to like, as I've gotten older, I tell my wife this all the time, that I'm now more so than ever looking more for like everyday music. Whereas I feel like, I want like music that you can just put on at any time. It's not like, it can be challenging to listen to, but it's not like crazy challenging. There are times for that kind of music, to listen to music that really pushes you in some way. Maybe it.
You mean it's got like weird chords or something in it, or?
Well, it's just asking a lot out of you. It's asking you to pay attention.
Okay.
Like, it's not just
it's not just vibes.
Yeah. It's not just like throw something on and just have music playing all the time because it elevates your mood, which is why I do it. It's like, it's kind of like what I was saying about, if you're an artist, like I feel like being an artist and having that creativity, like you have free medicine. The thing that's going to get you, to help with you, with your anxiety, with your, if you ask an artist, like a lot of artists I know are anxiety ridden and stuff. And obviously a lot of them are on the spectrum and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of that anxiety comes from the fact that they have to monetize it. And if you take that part away and it's just the art, it all of a sudden like relieves everything. It changes the meaning and the value of it for you. You know? And I realize that like, people got to make money, and absolutely, but I don't know. When I was at the heyday of Glossary, when I was working at the restaurant, did I like working at a restaurant for like a decade and playing music? No, I mean, I would rather, at that time I wanted to play music full time, but in hindsight now I realize that like I would have done that forever if I could have just gotten to play the music. I would have done a little like part-time day job or whatever I could have done, like to just keep doing it.
Yeah, I feel like the job, like when I look back too, like the shitty jobs help the art too. Whereas at the time it was like, I wish I didn't have to do this, but if I'd been like trust funded and didn't have to do the work, I think the art would not be as good. Like you you need to do something you don't want to do. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, that's the problem too, though. It's like when you do become an artist and you do like start making money off of it, you're going to do stuff you don't want to do. It's almost inevitable. Very few people are like, if any, can choose like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I mean, there are definitely, once you get to be a certain size, you get more control over not doing stuff. But like, I mean, now you're just going to be pushed, especially in today's era of content. You're going to be pushed into doing stuff that you don't really want to do all the time if you're an artist.
Yeah. Like even just last night doing the Clean showcase, it was like, a lot of people are doing like corporate and cruises because they will pay so much more than like,
that's the same in rock. You could do the corporate gigs.
But then it's like, well, if you do want to maximize your money, maybe you're making like 6 figures, but you're doing all corporate, like just soulless.
Yeah, and it's like you became a stand-up comedian to not have a real job. And guess what? Now you have a job.
Yeah,
you work for a corporation.
And you wanted like, to speak your truth, but now you're saying like, look at the owner of the company. You just do kind of. So that's kind of a weird thing too.
Well, then like, also people have sway over you because like once you are dependent on something, then somebody has control over you, you know, and on what you do. And so they can say, yeah, let's not say that. You know, like, you start playing corporate events and they're like, yeah, we got to make sure you don't talk about this, you know, don't say this, don't go after CEOs, you know, like,
and do a joke about this. Yeah. I guess that is kind of one sort of difference between comedy and music is like, you do need the audience, which I love because it's like they're laughing or they're not. But the songwriting is definitely more like you can just kind of be at home.
Yeah.
And songwriting can be like less literal too. Like a joke really kind of has to make sense unless you're doing some really avant-garde shit. Whereas a song can almost be like a dream or something. You know, it can be just a feeling.
Yeah, it can just be aesthetically pleasing. Like it doesn't have to like, I mean,
Neil Young, it's like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
I usually don't know, but I know deep down maybe, but
it's like, what is I'm an aquarium, like American aquarium drinker. Like, what is an American aquarium drinker? Like, I don't know. Assassin down the avenue.
Yeah.
Like, sounds cool.
Yeah. Did you read his songwriting book?
Yeah, I've read all of his books.
Yeah, he had some like reading that book. I was like, maybe he is just cutting words out of books and putting them together. Like,
it's very interesting.
I mean, you're still having the taste to like assemble an interesting sentence, but I was like, maybe none of those songs did mean anything. He's just making collages out of good words.
It's interesting too, though, and because I've heard a lot of songwriters before say like as they've gotten older, the more they lean into being like that, being more like obscure, the lyrics being
abstract.
More artsy and abstract. I've actually gone the other way.
Like
I've gone the other way. I've gone from when I used to be in indie rock and kind of punk music and stuff. Like I didn't really care about, I was just kind of writing stuff that I thought sounded cool and I wanted to put myself in it. But like as I've gotten, the older I've gotten, the more and more I'm just like, I want it to be something that I 100% believe in. I want it to give, if somebody's going to go through the trouble of listening to me, I want there to be some inherent value in listening to me, like you might get something out of it, or you
don't do nothing without any feeling.
I mean, it's just like something that you get, like something that I've learned in my life that I've found to be true. And so I'm like trying to just put it down. And a lot of times when I'm writing stuff like that, I'm trying to put it down so I'll remember it about myself later on. Like these are all these things I used to believe, I believe in, if I ever am off course, I can always remember like, you have all these things that like you've written about, are like your core values.
Almost like mantras or prayers or something. Those words can mean different things to different people, but
it's just like Stoics, like journaling, and it's just your own kind of version of journaling or something like that.
I would say that seems true, that your songwriting's gotten more and more just kind of distilled down to like the sort of the essence of
and I'm trying to be a simple
death, life.
Well, it's just like everything else to me is like kind of bull crap. It's like
fleeting.
It's all fleeting.
Topical stuff.
It's like, to me, I don't know. I guess to some people that would seem dark, but to me, it's not. To me, it's like,
no, I think it feels life affirming.
I mean, it's like, when I was 8 years old, my mom died. And we found my mom. I was laying, like the kids were on the bed with her. And when we woke up in the morning, she had died. And so immediately I was like, or I was 9 years old. So immediately I was just like, oh shit, like this just disappears. Like people just disappear. Like at any given moment, like something can come in and just take your whole life like to on another path immediately. And there's literally nothing you can do about it, And so that's basically, you know, a lot of all of that stuff comes from me like working through that.
Sure. Know? Yeah.
And then just living like that from a young age, just knowing that it's all temporarily, you know, like, so yeah, I just think that it made me see very early on that like nothing literally matters except for your like character, like who you are as a person, and if people can trust and believe in you. And like when people, you know, we get so obsessed with like legacy, everybody's like, it's my legacy, you know, like I find all that stuff to be so ridiculous because people tie their legacy back to like economics, you know, or back to fame or back to these things like the legacy that I want to constantly search for is like, how can I just be like better at being myself and being better to everybody that really means something to me. Like nothing else really matters to me. Like,
yeah,
you know, like it doesn't, you know, someday you're just like, you know, your wife's going to die or you're going to die, you know, your kid, you're going to see your kid like get in, you know, something happened to your kid that's out of your control. You're going to just see a bunch of stuff. You're going to put your parents to rest, you know, you're going to do all these things.
All these horrible things are going to happen.
And you have to accept them.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's literally the core of like where pretty much most of my writing comes out of, is just that idea that like, dude, you're like nothing. The only thing I remember one time my son was really little. It was on a Saturday and me and my wife it was Saturday morning and we were like laying in bed and my dog jumped in the bed and my son came in and he was probably like 3 or 4 and then crawled in the covers with me and we were just all laying in bed. And I just sat there for a second and thought like there's nothing that's ever going to be better than this.
Right. Yeah. There's no big show.
There's no big prize.
Totally.
There's no check. There's no like giant audience. There's no anything that is going to ever be able to top this feeling that this is what's important.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think that all the time and I'm trying to, because looking back on like when my kids were babies and just how crazy that is. And I have recordings of them that I can hear. And now I'm like, I was just trying to survive those years, and now it's gone forever. And it's the sweetest time. So now when I'm losing my temper, like, or what for some bullshit, like this is something I'm going to miss later. Yeah. But it's still hard not to just be irritated in the moment. A lot of the time. It's like that tension is so hard. I wish I could just like be present and enjoy all of it.
Well, also you have just evil forces against you all the time. You got your phone sitting there.
Yeah.
You got all these like things giving you little dopamine hits. And like, so you're constantly fighting that. I mean, it's the same story since the beginning of time. Like your life is lived inside of your head. So to be able to like conquer your own mind and try to like, I mean, your real enemy in life is your mind.
Yeah.
Because it can hurt you more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
Can. So like you're constantly at odds with it. And so you need to, you know, that's what, you know, people need to be working on like more than anything is yourself, your mind.
Yeah, that's interesting because talking about like songwriting, there's like the obsess of the mind that can be, once you start on a batch of songs, it could be drive you crazy trying to get them right. But then you're also trying to just have it be feeling and have it be as simple as possible too. There's that conflict of trying to like, you know, speak your truth simply, hard. But then also be the editor and be the planner and, you know, set the levels right for the mic, like trying to balance those two, the head and the heart.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
Yeah. It's just all about getting yourself out of the way, which is the hardest part. It's about being self-deprecating to yourself enough to know that like, I feel like I'm being a little self-indulgent here. You know, I don't need to be, you know, like I need to be straight. Like I don't need to write something that's like clever for the sake of being clever.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's just self-indulgence. That's just me being like, see what I wrote there?
Yeah. It's like when I see people with like an ironic mustache in their 20s.
Yeah.
That's long gone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the hardest part is to like being completely honest with yourself and trying to get yourself out of the way of it. Like I said, like all really truly great artists, they're able to like like open up that pathway between you and like the soul. Like they're able to open that up, like, you know, they can get a straight shot to it, you know, like, and to do that, you have to like let all your ego and all that kind of stuff like slip to the side so you can try to write some kind of common truth, you know?
Yeah, there's something transcendent about that. I mean, I'm not like a particularly religious person, but you know, it's like creation is divine.
Yeah.
So I think what you just described, that's kind of an internal version of that. If you can get yourself out of the way, you can create something.
Yeah, because all of the other stuff is all fake. You know, like I said, that thing is like real. You're not that thing inside you. You're never detaching from that thing. Like this thing, like you're detaching from it. You're going to leave this thing and all this other stuff that you can see and touch and stuff. You're going to leave this all behind. But that thing down in here, like it's attached to you. Like,
and you're still trying to put it in a form of like some sounds in the air, like
you're trying to pull it out from being that thing and put it in this plane.
You gotta attach it to like some chords and sounds, so you're still kind of having to use some fleeting structures to kind of get it out.
Well, it's your medium, whatever your medium is. Like you still have to deal with the you know, the physicalities of the medium itself, whether that be like musical notes or playing on an instrument or writing on paper or saying it into a microphone. You know, we're never going to leave, you know, the modern world. As long as we're here, we're trapped to it. So you've got to like play to it in some degree. Like, I mean, it's the only way to like, you know, it's the only way to like get any of your art out. It's got to get out of you somehow. So even if it only goes into a book and you put it in a drawer or something, but it's got to get out somehow.
When it's being played, though, like jokes and songs are like, it's like the air is the medium and it's time and it's just there and it's gone. I think that is magic. And like as soon as you get the bits in the computer to record it, I mean, that's cool too, because you can listen to it in your car later. But when it's in the air in a room, I mean, and people are like getting goosebumps. I mean, that is a very intangible, magical thing.
The reason why you want to do that thing is because at some point, somewhere, and you might not be able to pinpoint when it happened, you were on the other side of that. Yeah. Like you had a transcendent moment. You heard something and you had a transcendent moment, like almost a religious experience. And then you're like, I want to do that. Yeah. You know, it's like,
did you have somebody like that pulled out an acoustic guitar and played a song when you were little that like, do you remember like I remember my dad got an acoustic guitar and he just tried to play for like a year. And then he was like, this is hard. Yeah. I'm not good at this. But that year was like the greatest year ever. He was playing like the Dukes of Hazzard song badly. And I was like, this is incredible. Yeah, hearing you could make just trying to do it. And that was enough for me, but that kind of wasn't his thing. Yeah. But I remember just being like, like 8 and being like, oh my God.
Yeah. I can't think of like, I can't remember if I talked about it on the last time, but like my family, on my dad's side, my dad and his whole side of his family and my mom and their whole side of the family come from this tiny little Appalachian town called West Liberty. And it's like for both sides of my family for generations have lived in like this kind of holler, small town, Eastern Kentucky community. It's only like 3,000 people that's ever really lived. I think the population is still 3,000 people, you know? So, I used to go up there all the time and hang out with my family. And, you know, they all lived in like way back in hollers and like houses that they built. Like, you know, I used to go stay at my great aunt's house and she lived in like a log cabin that her and her husband built when they were 19 and just like back in the middle of nowhere, like at the end of a holler, you know? And I mean, I used to wake up to him doing like field calls and stuff, like calling, you know, to his buddy who lived kind of back towards the road, and they'd meet out in his field they had like a giant kind of farm, and he would just do like old school, like field calls where like, you know, I don't really know much about it, but I would hear them, but they were, you know, they're like,
and that's music. That's like, that's the same thing we were just talking about.
Yeah. He would just do like field calls, and then you'd hear like a minute would go by, and then you'd hear it like echo back. Like, and the funny thing is they had phones. This would have been in like, in the, like,
they had digital, but they were going analog.
Yeah. Like this is probably 89 or 90. 89 probably. They had phones, but they could have called each other.
Yeah, but they were keeping in the tradition alive, the culture.
But so that side of the family, they all were played bluegrass. So every time I went up there, I'd hear him like play the fiddle or him play instruments. And then, I always heard half of my family are Skaggses. So I always heard that Ricky Skaggs was my cousin. And so I remember it was around when like Highway 41 blues, Highway 40 blues, was like a big hit. And I was just like, oh God, this guy could be my cousin, And then I remember my wife did like some genealogy, one of those like,
23andMe,
something like that. And there was like this whole branch of Skaggses in there. So I don't know if I'm really, related to him or not. But I grew up like my dad saying like, yeah, he's her cousin, And so I kind of grew up like music from afar, and my dad kind of liked music, but like he never played any music, and a lot of he listened to like a lot of just like the oldies kind of, he didn't even really listen to anything too out there or different. He's just a child of his era. He loved like the Eagles and like Alabama and stuff like that. So but I don't, my coming to music was through hip hop. Or like when I got obsessed with wanting to make music in my life, it was because of hip hop. It wasn't because of, I'd been listening to my older brother, he listened to metal. And so I loved metal at that time in the late 80s.
I would not have guessed like metal and hip hop.
Yeah. So like
as an early.
Well, that's what he listened to. He listened to like his favorite bands were like Iron Maiden and like NWA.
Oh, yeah. That was the 80s too. So I was like,
So it's like NWA and like Iron Maiden. He would play that. Or
he wanted some real shit that was like cutting through the noise.
Yeah.
Those were the dangerous.
Yeah. It was
at the time.
It was basically what you didn't want your Southern parents to listen to.
Yeah.
But my dad, they never really cared about what we listened to, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But it was really when I can pinpoint it to like a specific album. I mean, it was really when I heard De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising. I heard that record because I used to get home from school, and I used to immediately, right when I got home off the bus, Yo MTV Raps would come on. It was like came on like right at 3:30 or something, and I'd watch it every day. And I remember when that is maybe 87 or 88 when that record premiered, and it premiered with 3 is the magic number. And I was like, what in the world is this? Because it was like music from another planet.
Yeah.
It's all sampled. It's like heavily sampled. I'm just like, I recognize some of the songs inside this song.
Yeah.
And I've never heard sampled music before. And then they had their own language, and it was very specific to them. And it wasn't like NWA or any of the gangster rap. It was like art rap. It was like elevated rap.
Yeah.
And so it
philosophical.
Yeah, it was like the words were so good. It was very philosophical. And I was like, oh man. And so it's right at that time. And then that's when I started hearing, I had started skateboarding then, and it was right at that time when we started being able to get skate videos in East Tennessee. And so I would have saw like Propaganda and Ban This, Pal Peralta videos, and then I would have saw like Streets on Fire, Santa Cruz, and then that's when I heard like underground punk. And then that's when I realized like, oh man, there's all this music that is not on the radio that like, is out there, and people are making a living like that aren't on the radio. I had no idea that was a thing. I had no idea that like a band like, like when I heard Fugazi and I was like, where do these guys play? And my buddy was like, they just play like DIY shows and like all ages shows and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but I mean like are they on the radio and stuff? And they're like, no, they're on radio.
Yeah, that was the golden age for the underground stuff.
It was like the college radio era.
Let me plug my fan in real quick. Audio is rolling though. I wanted to ask you, like, when you do record songs for an album, like what does that look like? Do you like do a click track version of like the whole song with acoustic guitar and then kind of like layer stuff, and what is that process like? Like the end recordings are so clean and balanced.
Yeah.
And
well, thanks. Yeah. Usually, I mean, what I do is I write the song first. For the most part, there have been like I said earlier that I've had to kind of change the way that I write, and sometimes I actually like will write in reverse now, kind of, sometimes mainly I'll write the song, and then once I get it, I'll go up in my bonus room, and then I'll start just tracking it. I'll start with a click track of just getting a basic like acoustic or something. If it's a song I wrote on keys, a basic like track of me singing and playing it, and then I'll start adding stuff, and then I usually come back and replace the scratch instrument and vocal that I initially did. And then, just kind of build it like that. But there's some on the last record I did on the Nothing's Wasted on the Soul. I tried to do some of them backwards, where I was like, how the modern producer style is, where I would like make a track. I'm like, I want a track that sounds like this. Like the very first song on it, the song on it is called Forever Ramona, is like that. I made the track first. I was like, I want a song that feels like this, it sounds like this, and then I made the track, and then went back and wrote the lyrics and the melody afterwards.
You made the track? You mean just the full instrumental?
Yeah, I just made the whole track exactly how it is.
And you hadn't written?
I hadn't written any of the lyrics or anything, or the vocals, and then I did the vocals for it later. It's just kind of like a modern kid's like the way I try to think. I want to think about modern music is that, like, in the same way I feel like when like Jimi Hendrix came around, or when synthesizers started becoming started showing up, like you were basically like hearing somebody play an instrument that like like Jimi Hendrix people, nobody just heard anybody play guitar like that, like to make the whole guitar an instrument, make noise music, make the way, the way he played. And when synthesizers came around, all of a sudden there's like this whole new instrument, and everybody thought about it. And at first everybody hated it. I'm sure you're the same age as me. Like when you're a kid, when I remember in 1984, when 1984 came out, and Van Halen, everybody's like, Van Halen's using synthesizers. Everyone's pissed.
Yeah.
I remember like all the good old boys in East Tennessee that I was around, they were all like so mad that Van Halen was using synthesizers.
Yeah.
And so he found out to use an instrument. And in the modern world, I think in that same way, that the modern kid making music, his instrument's the DAW. The DAW is an instrument. And you got to think about the DAW as an instrument. Like you're playing the DAW.
Digital audio workstation, or something like that for listeners. Yeah.
Yeah, you're playing the DAW like an instrument.
That's the instrument.
Yeah, it's like it's like the modern synthesizer.
Cut and slide things around.
You can slide, you can move things, you can duplicate and put them backwards. You can do that. You're playing an instrument, and you should think about it as an instrument, not as that like you're doing like this like mathematical or like computery thing. You just think about it like as an instrument, and so. Because, a lot of these kids, when you hear like a lot of modern records, kids that are like the bedroom producers, like building stuff on you hear sounds and you're like, I always like to hear stuff where I'm like, what the hell is that? What is that sound?
Yeah.
It's like some sound that it's like, I just hit the side of this can, but then I ran it through a delay. I distorted it. I played it backwards, and then
slowed it down.
You've created this whole new thing, And so, a lot of times, when I want to write a song, but it has like a feeling. I already know the feeling that I want it to have, and so that was like that Forever Ramona. I was like, I want a song that sounds like a 70s live track of like, because when I was younger, my brother listened to live. He loved live records, and so he listened to live records all the time. And I became like such a fan of like live albums.
Oh yeah.
And so I was just like, I was like, man, I'm gonna make a fake live song, like in the same way they did Benny and the Jets. Benny and the Jets, amazing song.
Okay, I was gonna ask you about that because it starts with the applause.
Yeah, fake live song, and I was like, I love the idea of a. Fake.
And then the last song starts with like some kind of carnival sound.
Yeah,
right?
It's like
the bookends.
I tried to bookend it a little bit. I tried to like kind of bring some of that back, but it's. So I just made them. Some of the songs on there are just tracks that I made because I was like, I'm gonna make this kind of like R&B live sounding kind of song, and then I would go put words after. But for the most part, most of them I would just sit and write on the piano or on an acoustic guitar, and then I would go up and just sit and mess around with and experiment.
So I always feel like that way is harder because then the song exists on the acoustic guitar and you have to do it service. Whereas if you're just making up the words at the last minute, it's like...
Yeah, see, I'm the exact opposite. Making up the words is the hard part for me because I don't really think, like, I don't... If it I don't think of myself as like a word or like a writer of words or anything like that. So if you take the music and the idea of songs, like I'm not going to write poetry. The only reason I write words is because I have to
sing them. Yeah,
yeah, it's because the song needs the words. Like so, to me, like having to just afterwards write the words is actually a little harder because I'm normally used to just sitting with a guitar and like most of the time I'm standing up playing guitar and I just pace and I kind of just like start strumming some chords and like start singing the way the chords make me feel or something like that. And the words kind of you start picking words that sound good with what you're playing and stuff like that. So when you have to do it after, and it's a lot harder for me to do. But that's one of the reasons why I tried to do it, is to force myself to like try to do something different. It's also the same on that record. There's no electric guitar. I was like, I want to make a guitar, because normally what I do is I play something and be like, well, let's put electric guitar on it. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm going to force myself to have to do something else creative, than just putting a guitar on it.
Yeah, no guitar solos or not as many.
There's no guitar solos on it. There's no electric, there's not any electric guitar on it at all.
Yeah, I think Tweety called that the mumble track, which is a really nice way of putting it. The idea that, you start by just singing... Like I go back to the
syllables and the kind of
the sounds,
the rhythm of and then coming back. It's the old like scrambled eggs yesterday's thing.
Yeah, right. All the Nirvana like Kurt with acoustic guitars are like that too, or the early versions are him just like making sounds. Yeah. And some of the words are there, but eventually. And that's really interesting to me that you're not sitting down going, what do I want to write about? You just make sounds, and they actually are. There's something in you that does become sense if you trust. It's like just be courageous enough to make the random sounds that you're not even thinking about what they are.
Yeah, I used to
magic.
I used to sometimes do that where I would just mumble and then go back and listen to it. And I think Tweety talks about it in a book. And then you kind of like listen to, what am I saying, or what's it sound like I'm saying? And you kind of just like kind of write down stuff like that. But I mean, I've never really, maybe a couple times I've ever really, when I'm sitting down to write something, really have anything in mind whatsoever. Almost all the songs just were like, the first line in the song is literally the first thing I came up with, and then the song starts, and then I just have to chisel and spend time with it to shape it, to make it go somewhere, which is, it's not fun. Like, I always say that, like, I don't really, I'll be honest, like, I don't really like writing songs. Like I've never really liked it. It's not something that I like to do. What I like to do is I like to have songs. Yeah. And the only way to have songs is to like trudge
through
the
agony.
Like, otherwise I don't want to sit around and like do hard stuff,
I feel the same way. I want to just have a whole bunch of good jokes that make people, make the room pop, but I don't want to sit there and like bomb and work on it.
That's the thing. It's like I'm not like, I hear a lot of people, it's just like, oh, I love the process. It's like, I hate the process. I absolutely just do not like the process. The process that I like is the song being done. I'm like, I wrote that, like that's what I like. I just don't know. I don't find any of it. It's never really been like enjoyable to me, and it's always been hard. It's never been
They never
easy.
just tumble out in 5 minutes. You don't have a few?
I mean, there have been some that come quick for sure. Absolutely. There are ones that come quick, but the ones that tend to come quick are the ones that happen because you're working on something else and you get stuck, but you're still in the headspace of working on something. You're like, oh man, I'm so stuck on this, and I've written myself in a hole and I can't get out of it. And then all of a sudden I pick something up, pick my guitar up and just, I'm putting it aside for a second. I'm putting it aside for a while. And then I start playing something like, oh, what is this? And then I spew one out. You know?
It's almost like maybe the other one becomes a song or not, but that's the thing I hear a lot is you got to write all the bad stuff to write the good stuff.
Yeah.
That's why like daily writing is so good. It's like you got to maybe just write. You go to a cabin and you write 100 bad jokes, and then on driving to the open mic you think of a good one.
That's like better than all
it's
of those.
Still, you still, it's because you got the bad ones out.
Yeah.
You're just.
Well, you gotta like live in that headspace to like get anything from the headspace. You know what I mean? The place that you have to go to be creative, like, you have to go there to ever get anything out. Otherwise, you get lucky every now and then or something, but it's like that old saying, like Nashville songwriters always say, it's like, if you want to catch a fish, you gotta go fishing. You're not just going to catch a fish unless you get out there and go. You know? So you got to try. So that's why I was saying earlier about making it a habit. It means you just try. It's like Stephen King writes 6 pages a day. If you write 6 pages of a day, after like a month, you've written a book.
Yeah.
You just write. That's why you write so much, It's like the Jeff Tweedy. You're like, dude, this guy puts out a record like every year, like double albums. It's like, why? It's like, oh, because you just work on it every day. You're going to have a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure he's just got thousands and thousands of songs. Yeah.
It's just, if you just work on it and you just make it part of a routine or something, then at that point I think too, another key is, and this comes as you get older, for better or for worse, is that like the least like precious you make it, the better. I think
totally.
If you're just like, oh, this is magic, and it's like, this is the most important thing in the world, and this has got to be like, this is gonna change the world, like all these kind of things you think when you're younger and you're super optimistic and green about it, and you kind of think that like, you have something that's like super special, and then you realize like, oh no, I don't. I'm just trying.
Like, you almost become real successful like a million times, and you're like, all right.
Yeah, you're just like, that's just, if you just try, eventually it's just like anything, man. I mean, if you curl a weight long enough, you're going to see a bump in the muscle, like if you do something enough, you get it. I mean, the only difference that I will say about writing as opposed to like performing and a lot of that stuff, if you play guitar, man, if you practice every day and really put the time in and the chops, I mean, you're eventually going to be good. Like, you're going to get good. You'll find your voice. You'll get really good and stuff. Songwriting is not really like that. Like, once you write a song, you kind of, every time you go back to do it, you kind of, it's like a joke. You kind of have to start all over again.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to, you're like, oh, well, I made it this far. Can't I just start from where I stopped? It's like, nah, bro, you got to go back to the back of the line, and you got to just restart. And so it's like every time you write a song, it's kind of like you have to relearn how to do it. I'm sure it's like when people go to do stand-up specials, like every time you go to do a stand-up special, it's like you got to relearn how to do a stand-up special.
Yeah, that's the daunting, and I've not made it to that level where like, here's my hour and I have an audience, and then they come see me next year, and it's like, you got to follow that. And after you put out the special, you're like, oh no, I have nothing.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, then everybody's heard the jokes. Now they come and see me. They want me to do the jokes that are on the special.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to do the jokes because they were on the special. And like now, because people know what's coming,
Yeah, I've heard like you want to like cut some jokes from the special, and then you have like at least like 5 or 6 jokes that you can roll over to the next one, so you're coming out with like 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it's very interesting, like the kind of comedy special thing, because it's very similar in music, as in like back in the day, like there was a time in music, like I'd say you'd have to go back at least 15 to 20 years, really, at least 15 years, that like if you played on the Tonight Show as a musician, you're going to get some kind of bump. You know, you were going to get a little bump.
Yeah.
Like you could expect that it would be like, it's not going to be a big bump, but you'd see a little move in your career or something like that. Or like back, you know, 15, 20 years ago, you got like a great review in like Pitchfork. It nudged the needle ever so slightly. You know, there are all these things like that. You know, you would get on like an All Things Considered or something like that, and it would
creds.
And it nudge. Yeah, you'd nudge a little bit, dude. There's hardly anything that does that anymore.
Yeah,
like just because it's like I come across so many. Like you go on, especially like some like Netflix. It's just like hundreds of comedian live shows, you know. It's like I feel like even in the comedian world, like now just having a taped live special, like you might get a couple people coming to your next show or something like that, but it's not really going to move the needle like it used to.
Each day it means less. Each day it's like, how many YouTube specials are going to go up today? It's a lot.
Yeah.
So like, 5 years ago it meant something. The next day I could feel that. Like every day it just means less to have done the things that I've done.
Yeah, that's just how it is, dude. I remember we played like on like the Carson Daly show or one of those. I think it's Carson Daly.
Yeah.
And you know, I was like. And you know, that was probably more at the tail end of a lot of that stuff. And I was like, there's no bump with that kind of stuff.
TV though, you got on it right at the end.
Yeah.
When TV was still a thing.
Yeah, it's just it's just that's what I was saying. I think that like I don't know, man, just the trying to appease to the algorithm and like doing. I think that's a fool's errand. And like you know, I don't
just how much there is now too. Like, I'm rereading Grapes of Wrath right now, and it's just like it's pretty damn hard, you know? And it's like these are my struggles. It's like, I got the Nateland Live and the Dry Bar creds that I'm trying to get, but it's like they're not real struggles, you know? Like I'm not like my family has food and you know, we have like a roof over our head or something like that. Like we've made it to this era where it's just we have all the amazing, like the future is totally now. You can think something and then just make it and share it with everyone in the world, but then it's kind of just it feels kind of dystopian and meaningless.
Well, that's a lot of that. Yeah, I mean that's you know, me and my wife always talk about like the invention of the post like industrialization age, the invention of free time. Like free time was not really a thing.
Yeah.
Like when you grew up, like where my grandma grew up in the hills of Eastern Kentucky, like. You know, everybody had a little free time, but like, you know, you got up when the sun came up. A lot of people went to bed not long after the sun went down, and you just kind of had to work a lot to just kind of survive. Everything you did in your day was to add to your survival, you know?
Yeah.
And so like nowadays it's like, nah, I'm just going to go buy all the stuff I need to survive at the store. You know, so now you got free time. We had endless free time. And so it's like, then that becomes a whole other thing where now like, you know, survival used to be a lot that used to be a good source of purpose, but now like, you know, you got to find more you know, you have a lot more work to do to find purpose.
Yeah, totally. And it's so recent too. I mean, that's like, it's more natural to have to get up and actually work for your survival. That's what like animals do. That's what nature does. Like, so we were doing till like 5 minutes ago, and now it's like, what does it all mean? You have all this time to get depressed about things that don't matter.
I mean, the idea that you can just sit around and shoot the shit for like 2 hours on a podcast is like absolutely insane. Like, you know, it's like your great grandfather is like, what?
Yeah.
Like sit around and bullshit.
Yeah.
Just like
it's gonna be on people's phones later too.
I remember those old songs, those old like Christian songs is like you know, we'll work till Jesus comes and stuff like that, where it's like, dude, if Jesus comes back, you don't let him catch you like sitting around, bro. Like what's gonna happen if Jesus comes back and we're all just like chilling? Like you gotta keep your hands busy. So,
yeah,
but the stand-up comedian world is it's always been interesting to me. Like I think I told you last time. I remember we used to always talk about when we toured in the band. We had like this. Somebody told us at one time it was like an equation that it was like, I want to say it was like it was. Every comedian wants to be an actor. Every actor wants to be a musician, and every musician wants to be a comedian.
Yeah. Like, I'm working my way around that. Haven't gone for acting yet, but I think that's next.
Yeah. It is very interesting. It is kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like, every musician wants to be funny, you know, and
they're all the same thing. Like the Beatles were hilarious, you know. I mean, the Beatles were definitely comedians, but the songs were bigger.
Could act, they could do it all.
Yeah.
Well, you just expected more back then to be diverse in your creativity.
An old-timey person.
Oh, dude, Sammy Davis Jr. could
dance, play
Sammy Davis Jr. could play every instrument. He could sing, he could dance, he could act. Like he's like like one of the most talented people who ever lived. You know, it's like a Prince or something. You know, these people that are just like like Stevie Wonder. You know, like the people that just have insane amounts. Like Fred Astaire. You know, could dance, he could sing, he could do. You know, you had to be multifaceted to like, you know, do something. Now people just go into their very specific kind of thing, and you know,
everything's fractured and niche.
And that's goes back to the monoculture thing. It's all so separated and segmented. You could be in your own little universe and not know, like, you know, how many times now in the modern world, you know, when we were younger, when something would get big, you would be like, oh yeah, you know, you would kind of see it coming. But nowadays you just see something that gets big and you're like, I didn't even heard about that. Not only have I ever heard about it, I've never even knew that was like a thing.
And that's why you pay attention to it. It just comes out of nowhere. You're like, whoa, something popped through the noise of
it's like Backrooms. You know, Backrooms comes out, becomes a phenomenal movie and a phenomenon in the movie world, and then you're like, oh wait, it was like a internet thing forever, like people were making, and it's like, but I didn't. It's a whole part of the culture that I don't even know anything about, you know.
I mean, I guess making movies involves so much equipment. You know, I looked into that briefly, but I do feel that songs and jokes are essentially the same thing. If you go far enough, it's like making sounds in the room, and it's a person, like at its highest, it's a person that's like could only say those things. It's their voice and just the rhythm. Like I think comedy is kind of making sounds essentially. You see some people that just have a great rhythm or voice, and you're like, I don't even know if the writing is that strong, but people just love this person.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a Dennis Leary or somebody like that, whose the jokes were like, they're okay, but he had he had that like fast talking, wisecracking kind
attitude.
of thing.
He's just like a brand. You just see the guy just like that.
Yeah,
that's
he had
Dennis
that.
Leary.
Oh, dude, I think completely and absolutely in music. I mean, that's why hip hop became famous. It's all about like the cadence, the words, like the sound of the words, the rhythm of the words, you know. You know, like as soon as you hear, you know, I mean, the same way with music. I mean, when you hear, you know, you hear Bob Dylan, "Mama's in the kitchen, they get up the man," you're like, look at the words. You're like, these words, what the hell is this about? But man, it sounds interesting.
And then he just change it all every few years. He'd be like, now I have this different voice, and it's this different thing.
Yeah, I think about that all the time. Like sometimes, you know, in songwriting, I always delineate it between like what sings good and what reads good, you know, because you can have a line, you're like, oh, that line's good, but it just doesn't sing good. You know, it's like that line makes more sense when I look at it on paper, but when you sing it, it doesn't sound good as this line, which isn't as smart and as clever, but this one sings better.
And the sounds is really the real thing, because like writing is a technology that we created at some point. It's one of the older ones, but it's not that different than a computer. You're writing something, it's captured, but the sound in the air, that's like cicadas or
oh, absolutely. That's like you're moving air.
Yeah.
You're like
that's the real shit.
Physics and like I mean, you're using like you're taking something that doesn't exist and putting it in existence, you know. So it's like, I mean, and that's why I was saying how special that is, and that's a power that everybody has. All human beings, like, I don't care. There's so many people like, I'm not creative. It's like bullshit. Everybody,
I always wonder that. I'm like,
everybody I have has some level of creativity, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always attracted to people that are. I'm still not sure if I think like, should everyone be creating? I mean, I certainly want to be around that.
Yeah.
But maybe if everybody did, then we're selling to nobody. It is good to have an audience.
Yeah.
But even the people in the audience that say they're not creative, I bet whether it's like fishing or there's probably something creative that they do. It does seem like it would be a tragedy to not feel like there's anything you do that only you can do.
Yeah, I think really what it is it's tied to empathy. I think the more empathetic you are, the more just naturally you're a creative person, because you kind of like, you can feel other people's like pain. You know, you can like, and I remember, you know, I remember seeing like, and I don't know how how this is ever even tested or anything. It's just by, interviewing people. But I saw like some statistic that was like 50% of people say they don't have like an inner voice, like an inner like conversation. And I'm like, what, man? Mine is so loud. Like mine is like so loud. And then I think people who don't have that, like that claim to not have like a dialogue going constantly with themselves, it's weird, because I can guarantee you every artist has that. For sure.
I assume everyone does. I heard something recently where it's like, if you walked into a room and you're like, oh, he's over there. Oh, I wonder if this is weird. Like, you would be considered a crazy person if you said it out loud. But but it's like, it's in there.
Yeah.
It's just like sometimes the voice is in there. You just know to like shut up so you don't seem like a maniac. You know. But
that's what I was saying earlier about like having to, like, that voice can hurt you more than anybody can, and so you have to learn when to keep that voice at bay, when to mute it, when to let it out, when to listen to it. Like, I mean, that's up to you, and that's like a lifelong, but see, the thing is, if you don't sit around and if you don't like workshop your head, if you don't like dig around and like figure out what you believe and how you think about the world, if you're not constantly deconstructing yourself, then you don't have that voice,
Yeah, I think the voices that you keep around you can influence the tone of it a lot too. Yeah. If you're around a lot of like hatery, negative thinking, then that kind of becomes your voice. So.
But I think if you don't have that apathy, like if you don't, you're not really. It's hard to be. It's hard to be an artist not having that. I think it's completely tied to being an artist, and I think most artists have it. I think also after having like a son on the spectrum, like I realized too, like now as a 50-year-old, hanging out, just reflecting on having to go through a whole process of like therapies and stuff with him, and then just realizing like, oh, like literally almost everybody I know is autistic. Every artist is on the spectrum.
Yeah, totally. I mean, without a doubt. I was just talking about that with my kid, that it's like there's one letter difference between those words.
Yeah,
autistic and artistic.
Yeah,
it's right there in the word. It's basically exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, it's wild.
Like having a different perspective is good.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing.
I mean, that's the one thing,
ignoring social cues and things that just kind of like weigh you down, and getting straight to like saying your thing,
Yeah.
I mean, the funniest people are all super autistic.
Oh,
it's like most of the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they're just like, it's just weird.
Well, because they have
different.
an interesting perspective on stuff, because they're looking at something else when you're looking at this, and
every little thing, they just get up and move the stool, and it's like, that was different.
Yeah. I mean, everybody
kind of leans in a little more.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I think that, once I realized that I was definitely absolutely 100% autistic for sure, I never was like diagnosed with anything like that, but
we didn't even have that word. I didn't even hear that till like the late 90s, for the first time. The concept of that.
Yeah, well, it's because back, in like the 80s and 90s, they would just be like, he's retarded.
Right. Yep. Put him over there in that room. And that word was written on the door of the room.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, they were, I mean, it's very interesting to see somebody, but also at the same time too, with this, I think that this whole, like, they're on the spectrum thing has a negative connotation, which is that, like, I feel like back in the day, you're like, oh, they're kind of weird, and they're kind of, just, let them, they're just their own thing. Let them be that. Now I feel like, because everybody's diagnosing all this stuff, now everything's designed to try to get people to not be that, so I feel like you're taking something the universe created that's very interesting and very quirky, then we like bring them into American society, and then you start chiseling out all the interesting things that make them an individual, to be an automaton, to go, the American education system was basically designed to prep people to work in factories. You know, it's like just to make you an automaton. It's like to make you
go here at this time, eat at this time, go back to the thing.
Yeah, these are the things you need to learn to just do a job, like, you know. And so I think it's like you take something that's like beautiful and like a creation of, you know, whatever bigger thing is going on here, and then you like take everything beautiful and individual about it and slowly chisel away over a lifetime.
Yeah, totally. And we were saying at the beginning that like having routine is good, you know, a lot of times for creativity, but is it your routine that you've created for yourself versus like the factory is like, we've sorted you over here. Yeah. You'll be here now. You know, like routine's good, but I like to make my own routine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's all
and be able to change it.
The routine only benefits you if it's like a healthy routine. Because that's the thing. Like I realized this a long time ago about myself is that I have a hyper focus. That if it's something that I'm interested in, I can just like hyper focus on it for long periods of time, like years. I can just carry around a song, go back to it. I never lose it, never get bored of it. I can carry things around me forever. I realized that was like my superpower. But then I also realized that it was also like a detriment to me if I didn't use it for good.
Yeah.
Because then it means
obsessive and rumination. Yeah. Yeah. I struggle with that all the time.
Yeah. Because then if you put something negative in that space, then all of a sudden it becomes, it's bad.
You're just playing that loop in your mind.
Yeah.
Everyone else is happy. You're just Yeah.
So that's the one thing you have to conquer that part about you. When you hear like those voices, you can be like, man, shut up. Sit down. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's kind of like what you're saying about the songs, like the things, you know, your songs are the things you want to repeat to yourself, or maybe you said something like that. Like I'm becoming more interested in that word mantra. Like what are the
very much
what are the things that I like in the morning, if I can say some like affirming things to myself at the beginning of the day, then when shit hits the fan, maybe I can hold on to that instead of just going like flexible thinking. That's the thing my kids have taught me about. It's like, holy shit, we never had that word.
Yeah, flexible thinking.
There's other ways to frame things.
I mean, that's whenever.
But I'm a product of the hatery 90s, so I carry the trauma. You know, I always have a voice that's like, "Don't be a poser."
Oh, absolutely, dude. Absolutely.
It's like, shut up. I'm 47 now. It doesn't matter.
I still, to this day, like I see artists and stuff like shilling for like corporations and stuff, and I'm like Samuel L. Jackson, dude. Do you need to do credit card commercials, man?
Yeah, it's crazy how many of them do the credit card commercials.
Walter Goggins now the spokesperson for Walmart. I'm like, bro,
they must just be like one day for millions or something, because it makes no sense it used to be.
There's just no way. I would live in my car.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I said, like I think that. As a human being, like the greatest thing that you have, like that you're going to carry with you your whole life and is going to be more determined than anything is like your character and what you believe and like where you're willing to draw the line and like what you're willing to believe in and what you're willing to like, you know, loosen up a little bit and or tighten up here and there. And, you know, just your character about just being somebody that people can like lean on, like and trust and like, you know, I think that all that stuff. And I don't know, man, like making your face like making yourself the face of like a business that is not your own business is like, it's weird to
and
me,
you're already super successful as an artist and actor. It is weird.
Like, I don't get it. It just makes no sense to me. But that comes back, you know, to like growing up in being like into, you know, when I first got into like, you know, underground culture was through skateboarding, and it was like, you know, like all of that stuff was, you know, I remember when Jawbreaker signed to a major label and everybody was like, dude, it was like, dude, everybody was furious.
Oh yeah. Like Green Day in the 90s.
Yeah. When Green Day signed, like, I mean, it was like, there were things that just like you did not do. And in hindsight, you know, I look back at a lot of that stuff and I'm like now, and I'm just like, it's kind of silly, you know, that you would kind of think that I don't care about everybody's got to make the decisions that they have to and do what they have to do. If Samuel L. Jackson wants to be the spokesperson for a credit card company, you can do that, but it's like, it's just not how I
like, where's that line?
Yeah,
you know, like I think Led Zeppelin songs are in movies now. That's kind of recent.
Yeah.
Like Calvin and Hobbes is one of my all-time favorite. And that guy's like he just like did it for whatever 9 years and quit. There's never been a show. There's never been a cartoon.
I'd love that kind of stuff.
Like standing for something.
Yeah.
Steve Albini, he passed recently. He's someone like that. Somebody that like really stands for something.
I remember that Nutrimilk when he put out that record, it was like a sensation. It was like it was basically the Nevermind of that era, and then he just like walked away from it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, when he did In Utero, you know, the final Nirvana album, it was like you get producer points, so you get a percentage of like what the overall thing is. And clearly it's going to be a lot, but he was like, no, you pay me like
flat fee.
Yeah, $200K or whatever, and they're like, he didn't go, nah.
You just don't need like I said, every hobby doesn't need to be a job. Every passion doesn't need to make money. I mean, we're just like indoctrinated to think that way from the time we're born in America.
Yeah. And the carrot on the string of like not having to go to my day job. I mean, it does sound nice.
Yeah.
I've not been offered, you know, millions of dollars to do a credit card commercial. I think I'd say no.
I would say
I don't expect
I couldn't do
the phone call.
Now, if I was like, you know, my son had an operation and it cost $1 million, I'd do it today, you know?
Yeah, right.
But like, I don't, just to do it. Why? Like, what do you, like, I don't know, man.
You would think on your deathbed, that kind of stuff probably does haunt you a little bit.
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah. I mean, just all of that stuff, you know, on your deathbed, all you're going to be caring about is like the people that you're not going to get to see anymore. That's like literally what you'll be caring about. You're not going to be caring like, oh man, I wish I had a bigger draw in Tuscaloosa.
Never cracked that town.
Yeah. I never cracked it. But like, damn it. If I had to just if I could squeeze out another month or two, I might be able to get that market.
Make it to the theater in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I think that too. I also think that you know, for an artist, the best thing that you can do is just be like, it doesn't matter if anybody. I think this is something that's really come with age, but I like believe in it wholeheartedly now, is to live your life like to realize that like it really doesn't matter if anybody knew you were ever here or not, you know? Because I would say my grandmother was like the most important person in my young life, and only maybe 100 or so people ever even knew who she was.
Yeah, it's almost better, really, that like, because you each had a bigger piece of her, you know, like. And I think about that a lot, like the conflict of trying to get a bigger audience and get more. Like, where am I giving my self away
to get it?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can do it without giving yourself up, then like you've figured it out.
Yeah.
And there are people who end up being able to do that.
But to balance it.
Yeah, but at some point, it's just really hard.
I think there are a lot of showbiz greats where it's like, this was a great man. He performed, but he was like never there for his family. I think that is a common hidden side to that story. The great performer that was there for all of us, but he was never home.
Yeah, have you ever
telling his kids a story?
The Townes Van Zandt documentary. His son talks about that. He's like, my dad.
I can imagine he probably wasn't the best dad, from what I know about Townes.
Basically, his son was like, yeah, sure, you wrote great songs and people like looked up to you, but like you're like a terrible dad. You know, you were not there. You know, like. And that's just something, I don't know. Who are you working for at that point? Like, you know, I don't know. That kind of stuff, I don't know. And, you know, I'm not trying to judge. People do whatever.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'm just saying it is for me and what works and what it can do with me. Is like, you know, my whole thing is that like as I get older and as I get closer to the end of my life, assuming I get to just live until I just naturally die, is that I want all the bullshit. Like I want it all gone. I don't want to have any lingering grudges. I don't want any lingering, like I never told somebody something I need to tell them. I never said sorry. I don't want anything. I don't want any hangups. I came in here with none, and I want to leave with none. You know, I want everything left on the table. I don't, you know, that's the most important thing to me is like, so I don't. Like it kills me when you get these older like boomer men who are still like at the end, you know, like, you know, and obviously our president is a perfect example of it. At the end, still holding grudges, talking shit, like still, it's like, dude, at this age, aren't you supposed to be like reflecting, letting all that go, like realizing like where I fucked up, where are you know, like what, I don't know.
Yeah, what's the name of the late night guy that just quit? He's like the sketch guy. I forget his name. I'm drawing a blank on it. But he was kind of forced off the air from doing. He had Letterman's old show.
Oh,
and
was it Colbert?
Yeah, Colbert. And he was like had to leave, and Trump was like, "No talent, bad show." It's like, why you gotta like say?
Yeah,
just let him. He's already losing his show. Like,
it's weird to me that you just be so petty. Like, I think those are things that, like, as you get older, like all like pettiness, like that kind of like arrogance, selfishness. Like, you should be working to get rid of that stuff.
Yeah,
dude.
Totally.
Like.
I am. It's not all gone yet, though. But I do. I'm trying to. It's like so important to me to get rid of that. Like,
it was just healthy for you.
Yeah.
Like, it's just absolutely 100% healthy for you. You wouldn't need to be able to lay in bed at night and just the only thing that's on your mind is sleeping.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know.
That's beautiful. That's a great place to end on that. It sounds like your songs. But Joey, thank you for letting me come over. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome.